Hello and welcome to the Clanker Chronicles. I'm Craig and I'm here with my co-host Zeke.
Hey party people, what's up?
On this show, we dive into how people are using AI agents, or clankers as they're lovingly called. Everyone is doing this a little bit differently, and today we are going to show you this with the wonderful Rizèl and how she is utilizing her clanker. Welcome to the show, Rizèl.
Hi, thanks for having me, y'all.
Rizèl, you've had some you are all over the place on the internet, and I would love, how do you introduce yourself these days?
That's a good question. I don't know. I was trying to rewrite my own bio the other day.
Let's do it. Let's do it live.
Okay, so yeah, my name's Rizèl Scarlett. I'm currently a principal developer advocate at a company called Entire. We're really focused on redesigning the software development lifecycle for AI agent, or like not AI agents, but the agentic era. And prior to that, I worked at Block. I helped with an open source agent called Goose. And then prior to that, I worked at GitHub and I was really focused on GitHub Copilot. So I really been like touching different like AI coding types of tools since 2021.
Yeah, you've been in the game for a long time. That's awesome. And seen the progression,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Because before it was just like pressing tab and you're like,
Yeah.
oh my God, yeah, cool, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, right.
Now it's writing full features.
And one of the reasons why I wanted to have you specifically on the show is because of that. Because I want to get your vibes on where things are going and kind of showing you. You get to show us where you've been. Zeke and I are always interested when you sit down with somebody and you watch them. It's such a private thing, right? Like working with an agent is sort of a private thing you don't normally get to share. And we're interested because I feel like every time I talk to somebody and I watch somebody build, I learn something new.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. So you also actually had something that you missed from your bio there. That was the new ambassador thing that just happened.
Yeah. I forgot about that. Yeah, now I'm an ambassador for the Agentic AI Foundation. I'm excited about that because although I don't work at Block anymore and I'm not as focused on Goose, now I can kind of jump back into Goose and also MCP. And those were like the first like real like agentic tools that I got to touch really early on.
Can you tell me a little bit about that foundation? I know this is like brand new, but can you tell me a little bit about what that foundation is doing?
Yeah, so it was actually founded by Block, OpenAI, or people from Block, OpenAI, and Anthropic. Yeah, right. So actually, one guy from Block, his name is Monik, he came up with this idea and he was like, instead of us having these tools and like they're just like centralized to specific companies and like maybe other users or like they're not sure when the rug's going to get pulled from underneath them, like, oh, maybe they love Goose or MCP or agents.md or something, and then all of a sudden Block's like, yeah, we're not supporting that anymore. So they're like, why don't we put this under the Linux Foundation so people can feel like much safer in what they're doing? And then like overall, they're just the foundation is just making sure everybody really understands like the open source AI ecosystem and helps to continue developing it as well. So I think as an ambassador, I'm just gonna be like talking about Goose, talking about things that happen in the MCP world and all that. Yeah.
Nice, awesome. We're also interested. One of the things Zeke and I are always interested in, how are you using agents in your personal life? Like how are you using outside of work? Are you doing that? Because I fascinating stuff happens with this question.
Interesting. I wish I was those people like there's like people that are like, I'm using it to be a parent. I'm like, whoa, that's crazy. But I think my usage of agents is mostly work related, but that also might be because I'm kind of a workaholic. So I don't really have other things that I'm doing.
Work is life. One of those work life
Yeah,
balance where
I
work
think
is.
so. How are you guys? Do you guys use agents for your personal lives often?
Zeke just did a really rad one when we were in Lisbon. You want to talk about Zeke?
The yoga thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, so whenever I travel, I like to go to different yoga studios, and I don't really like going on a Google map and like clicking each studio and then trying to find their schedule and waiting for the iframe to load. And so I used an agent that just said, hey, I'm in Lisbon and I want to do a yoga class today. Go find all the studios for me. And I have an agent set up now that can actually run browser, spin off browser instances for me and actually browse the web dynamically and collect all the data. So that was a really, really fun one. Easy to do in like a one-off session, but actually trying to build it as a thing that can run as a cloud hosted application where anyone can search for yoga studios anywhere at any time is proving to be a little bit more challenging. But
I'm impressed though. That's cool.
it's crazy how much you can do in just like a few sentences in a prompt in an agent harness. But I'm similar to you in that it's finding the line between personal work, doing personal stuff and work stuff. The line isn't always clear. Like if I'm on my computer, I kind of feel like I'm working all the time, or like even if it's a personal thing, it's often in service of some kind of work related discovery
Right.
or exploration.
Yeah, like it could be personal, and then I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna use this for a blog post or whatever. I mean, like, not all of my usage of agents is coding related. Kind of like you said, like I might like use agents to like, or at least when I worked at Block, like I would have the agent kind of like give me an automated reminder of like different CFPs that are out and like search for it, kind of like what you said about the yoga studios, but I'm like, that's work related, like looking for conferences. Yeah.
Yeah, I love how you could build like these one-off apps that no one's ever going to use. My wife
Right.
and I were throwing like a graduation party, and you could actually get a permit, and like it's just stuff that you wouldn't normally do. Like I wouldn't normally get a permit, but I asked AI how to do it, and I was like, get a permit. And you have to send a flyer to people in 500 square feet of the thing. I was like,
Wow.
how do I do that? And I was like, oh, I know how I do that. How do I get the addresses of 500 square feet? It made a map, but I don't even know what software it used. It just like went and did this, and like it was right, and we went and found all the people we had on the thing. It's a great party, great party.
Wow.
I went all out. There's a DJ and everything in our front yard. DJ in our front yard.
That's so cool.
So when you all are doing that kind of thing, do you find that your experience as like a software engineer is really helpful? Are you finding that you're using like specific terminology? Like you just said CFP, I guess that's a call for proposals. That means like you're looking for stuff for like opportunities to speak at conferences.
Yeah.
When you do that, are you feeding some specific terminology into your agent, or are you literally just like, hey, let's do some talks, find some CFPs, go?
I mean, I just say straight up well, for that example, but that is a good point. I do think being a software engineer helps a bit with context because sometimes I've like showed like maybe like my sister or somebody, I've been like, oh, just use an agent for that. And she was trying to like, I think, use an agent to change. I don't know a lot about music, but it was like she had a music sheet or something like that, and she wanted to change it from like whatever key or treble clef or something like that it was in, and it didn't work. And I felt like the way that she prompted it wasn't like, you know, like she wasn't informed enough. And if she had a little bit of more like terminology, it would help her better. I think it's similar to why like engineers say that like agents aren't good at design because we don't really know a lot of the design terms. So we're just like make it bigger, shinier, but there's like real design terms that we're missing out on.
Yeah, I find that's often like a humbling experience when you sit down at a computer with someone who is not as technical, and then you see them kind of like flailing with an agent, and you're like, oh, I thought this was actually really easy, but it turns out there's like a bunch of expertise that you don't even notice that goes into it.
Yeah, definitely.
What are you using right now? Like what's your go-to? Like if right now I was like, hey, show us what you're working on. Like what would you dive into? What coding agent?
Yeah, right now I really love Codex, like the desktop app. I never thought I would say that because I was all about Goose.
Yeah.
But the UX is just so, I just really like the UX. So yeah, and I don't know, maybe I judged OpenAI. I was like, I don't know if you guys are gonna come out with anything good. But
Okay.
it's a really good agent, in my opinion. And then like the model I use with it is usually like GPT 5.5,
Okay.
stuff like that. Yeah.
What do you think's good about the what do you find would you be willing
To share.
to share? I mean, I didn't tell you this ahead of time. Opening your codex is always like, oh, what's over here? Like, is that okay? Can we
Yeah,
can
sure.
we show can we show codex? I would love to see what you like about the UX there because I hear this a lot. You hear this too, right? Like people really, really love Codex. We use open code at work.
Okay.
And in fact, if I try to use Codex, I have to like jump through some hoops to be actually able to use it. So
So we're feeling some FOMO right here.
yeah, totally. Like I admire it from the side. Like, oh, look how pretty that is. So I'd just show us. Yeah.
Okay, sure. It's on my screen.
I'm curious to find out what these UX things are.
I don't,
I
it's
took,
nothing spectacular. It's
yeah,
just simple.
yeah.
I don't
It just
know.
work. It just works. Yeah.
Yeah. I think, okay, let me see what things I like about it. I think, you can see a diff viewer. Let me see if I give it or find an open session that I've had, maybe the documentation.
So these are all projects, and then nested under those are sessions.
Yeah, these are all my
Got it.
different folders. Inside of them are the different sessions that I have going. So I feel like one, it's easy to quickly navigate. I don't know. I'm not really a terminal girly. Like I like it, but I don't really want to read a whole bunch of words in my terminal. So that's part of why maybe I'm not always like into maybe the Claude Code CLI or the open code TUI is cool too, but then I have to remember all these different controls. I just wanna click and go.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah.
let me see if I can find like the diff viewer if I have anything here. Yeah, like I don't know. I just like seeing it like right on the side here for
Mm.
myself. And I'm like, okay, cool. Here's what I changed or added. And then it can open up. I feel like other agents do this too, but it's just the placement of it that like works well with my brain. It opens up how it looks in like the README, I mean like in Markdown, or if it's in a browser or whatever, I'm like, just go ahead and run this. It does that. What are other things that I like? I don't know. The plugins are easy to find. I think with Goose, people had complained about this. It's really, really, it has everything, right? But the issue with that is it could be hard to configure and find everything. So I like how it's like, if I'm just looking for a particular skill, I can just go here, click it, or a particular MCP server plugin or whatever, just go here and click it. It's visually appealing. Yeah, that's why I like it. I don't know if that really convinces anybody, but that's why I like it.
I mean, going back to talking about your sister and the music thing, like, you could imagine that if your sister was using an interface like this, it might be a bit more approachable than, an open code terminal window that's just like an empty box, and you're like, I have no idea what I can do. I don't know what to click on.
Exactly. And then there's all these different like shortcuts you should know. And I also think like Codex, it seems to produce, I don't know, like everybody has their own bias. It seems to produce pretty good like results in terms of code, or even like if I'm telling it to like edit a doc or something like that. Like I find that like it it jumps into action pretty well without me having to explain too much.
I want to ask a question about the diff stuff. So I remember when Cloud Code came out, I was using Cursor before that. So it was sort of in this hybrid world where I could still see the code. I still had an editor, I still had a sidebar full of files. And it was kind of like I was still involved in paying more attention to the code. Then with Claude Code, it was like, no, I'm actually kind of just going to close my eyes and type stuff in English and like see the result, but pay less attention to the code. Seems like what you're seeing here is maybe starting to be a little bit more of a hybrid development environment where you're still in this chat-based session, but the way you see a diff here looks reminiscent of VS Code or GitHub Desktop or, GitHub pull request review environment.
Yeah, I think, oh, go ahead.
Yeah, no, go for it.
Yeah, I mean, I still have the option to open this in Cursor. But like you said, like a lot of people did move, and including myself, move away from opening up stuff in an IDE because like I'm not directly editing it. So why am I opening it? But I have had a lot of moments where I merged something that I didn't realize got merged. So I just like to like do a quick look at like what exactly did I add? Just a quick check. But I don't want to necessarily go through each file or look at a directory tree or anything like that.
Yeah. And are you using Git in this situation, or are you just literally using the undo feature inside of Codex when something goes wrong?
I use Git. I never used
Okay.
the undo feature before.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm like very much, but I don't type any Git commands myself. I just tell Codex. So I don't know if that's weird or not, but I'm just like push it, or I'm like, can you revert that with Git? I don't know.
Yeah. I don't think that's weird. I say the same stuff.
Rizèl, if
You
you
can even like abandon the Git terminology entirely, right? And just be like, that looks good. Let's make it happen. Put it on the website. Go.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, share that with people. Can you I was noticing that there's a little plus that shows up on the right when you're going over there, like
This
in the code actually. So if you're like in like 197,
right
can you
here,
can
like
you
leave a comment.
you can leave a comment and that's going, where's that going? What's that icon there? Does that
I never used this before, so I
what?
don't know.
Let's try.
That's a
I
good
bet it's like
question.
a
I can
press. I
try
bet
it.
it's like a precise way to manipulate the chat, right? Like you could be
Yeah.
like, I don't like this answers thing or whatever.
Yeah, that's super handy. I kind of want that sometimes where you're like, it does a big thing. You're like,
Let's see if it works. I guess so. I don't know. Put the comment right here. I don't know. I thought it would like go into the agent.
yeah, and then you say, do the thing I
Oh, it's
talked
right
about
there in
before.
the.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
so it
yeah.
brings it through for you. That's cool.
Yeah, that is cool. That is cool.
Okay, I could use that because I'm definitely being like, you know that part where you said this thing over there? Like,
Yeah, 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 totally. It shows you like, in the TUI land where it shows you the long thing, you can't grab it very easily.
yeah,
Yeah.
this
You
is more
guys just made me
precise.
discover that.
Teamwork. We're figuring out how to use a GUI.
If
Bunch of
if you were to
pros.
talk about in the projects over there on the left, and you're talking about those things that like you have one that says enable headless login, and you have brainstorm entire DB stats. What are you? How are you conceptually? What are those things? Are
What
those
are these? This is work again, or you're saying these are different sessions.
they're different
So
sessions? Okay.
yeah. Like if I start a new session, oh, they made things look a little different in here all of a sudden. But yeah, if I start a new session right here, I'll just say like, I don't know, create a hello world app. It'll automatically just name it based on whatever I last prompted or whatever it is, you know?
Yeah, and so that's inside the code base for that specific project, and you're
Yeah.
like, mentally do you? I've seen people go wild and like spin up a whole bunch of things in there. Do you do that? How do you use that? Like, do you run multiple sessions at once, or like what's your philosophy on that?
Good question. So the people that do like 12 sessions at once, I like tip my hat to them. I've explored a lot of that stuff. Like, I've tried out like beads and Gastown and all that. But for me, my brain, I still feel like my brain has to keep up with that all those different like contexts. So I probably do about like 3 or 4 sessions max at a time, but because I just want to get stuff done quickly. So I might be like, oh, I found a bug in entire.io. So then I'll start a session there. And then maybe someone will ask me a question like, oh, why doesn't, like in Discord, why doesn't this work in the CLI? So then I'll like open this up while the entire.io thing is going. And then maybe I'll start a doc or something. But that's really it. I do use like I do loops a little bit as well. So like let me show you.
Yeah,
I
talk
hope I
talk
have
to
an
me about
example.
loops. I'm in a FOMO. To continue the FOMO, I haven't played much. Zeke, have you played with loops in the way that the cool kids are talking about loops? So no.
I know of Loops, the like email API, but and
Or like
Loops, the like thing
it's
that
JLoop. Yeah.
people used to talk about Ralph Wiggum for a while. But
Yeah, I think this is like Ralph Wiggum 2.0 is
okay,
my understanding.
I kind of still use that version. Like I don't even know what loops people are using, but the ones that I use, let me see if I can find this. This might be my example. Yeah, okay. Here's one that I did. I don't know, some people use like the slash loop command there or the goal command, or they're creating their own different loops. I'm kind of still on the Ralph loop type of thing. So what I did is I wanted to measure if using entire like reduces token costs for like with like when paired with an agent. Like if you use like Codex by itself, are you using more tokens or not, right? And I was just trying to do an experiment, but I didn't want to go step by step through the experiment. As you can see, this is at 3:22 a.m. So I just told it to like I told it like how I wanted my loop to kind of look, and it's like, oh yeah, we can do this. We can have like we can create a script that like runs outside of Codex, and basically like every time a task happens, we do like we basically give it we basically Codex is going to get a task from my loop, right? Like maybe prompting it to do something simple in the code base, and then it's going to compare the different like repositories I have and see if like with Codex, or I mean with entire or without entire, the token cost is different. I don't know if what I just said made any sense.
So yeah, so you the loop that you're giving it all of your repos, and you're saying loop over all of these repos and do the same thing again,
Yes.
again, again, again.
Yes, exactly. And to compare the differences. And then I told it like I want to use a different model for like actual execution. And then for I'll have another model that like does reviewing. That way I know that it's not just like biased in its results. Right here it was GPT 5.5, but I told it to like fix that. And then I just let it go for a really long time, and it just kept, let me see, it just kept going. There are times where I like woke up and I was like, wait, let me see what you did, but let me see when it just kept going for a really, really long time. There's a lot of messages here.
And it's just kind of off in the background. Just
Yeah,
hopefully you went to bed at 3:32.
yeah. Here you can see it did its thing finally at like 4:37 and came back with results to me. And then I woke up at
Yeah.
10:18
Okay.
and
Good.
I was like, okay, try running that one again.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
So
Cool.
those are the types of like times that I use loops. But I don't have like I don't have a bunch of loops in the background like other people where they're like, I want you to just loop and create this feature. I maybe I'm kind of a control freak and I want to be part of the process. But if it's something like this where I'm like, I have no interest in like creating two different repos, writing a prompt, writing another prompt, and comparing the results each time. Like I think I gave it like 10 different, or I told it to create 10 different tasks. Like that just seemed like a time sink for me. So I'm like, just do that while I take a nap or I'm sleeping.
Yeah.
And then, yeah. Oh, see, yeah, this loop works for 36 minutes and 45 seconds. So, yeah.
So I like the idea about using a different model to validate the results, so you know it's not just agreeing with itself.
Yeah.
But if you're working in Codex, you basically you're only able to use OpenAI models, right? So are you giving it like 5.5 and
Yeah. This
something
one,
else, 5.1 mini or 5.4 mini or something like that, or
yeah. I agree with you.
5.5 and 5.4? Okay, yeah,
Yeah. This one I didn't really agree with as, like, I wasn't as convinced on how my approach there with the models. But what I did like when Ralph Loop first came out, I had made my own version for Goose. The cool thing about Goose is like you can use any model from any provider. So I had a little bit more what's it called, like flexibility. So like for here I made the worker model be like GPT 4.0 because that's what was out then, and then the other one, my reviewer provider, was like Anthropic, and maybe it was like Claude 3.5 or something like that. So I had a little bit more like flexibility there. With Codex, I'm locked into their particular model.
totally. How much is cost a factor in this stuff? Like, do you work for a company that's paying for your AI bill, or are you now in a situation where you have to be like really conscious about the monthly cost of stuff?
Good question. I need to start thinking about cost, but I've always worked at companies where like cost is not a factor for me. So this is why I was starting to even run this experiment to see if like Entire would help save. token cost for people because I'm very much in my own like little bubble of like I can just run things as much as I want. I don't feel like looping. Like I put a little warning here, like it could be excessive, but I don't feel like looping is that much more expensive than doing a regular prompt because I think if you write the prompt for the loop very efficiently, it exits the loop when it needs to, and you don't need to like some people just have their loop like going forever. I'm like, listen, you're gonna do like 3 iterations or 2 or whatever. After that, like just stop. Like you can have a little bit more control over the cost. But yeah, I'm in a privileged world.
And I think the way the loop works is like you're if you just think about it like a while loop, and you're like, while this isn't true, do the next thing to make this thing true, and it's trying to make that thing right, like it does the work and then says like, did it complete? Oh, it didn't. All right, did it complete? No, it didn't. I think that's kind of the like the easiest way for my brain to conceptualize what that is, and so that's cool that you built that over there on the goose side. I was wondering if this is a good time to talk a little bit actually about entire. I don't know what that is. Why don't we stop sharing your screen here, and then let's talk about what is entire, because you said it a couple times, like, does it save tokens, does it, like, what are you into right now, what are you doing over there, what's going on at this entire.
Yeah, good question. Yeah, I did mention it a couple of times. So Entire is created, I'll just give like a quick backstory, right? It's created by the former C or the last CEO of GitHub, and it's co-founded by another teammate that was at GitHub as well. And their whole idea is, right, they obviously love GitHub. They're like, it's cool, great, whatever. But they started to notice that like they started to notice a couple of things. One, the amount of like traffic that was coming from agents was really overloading what's it called? Like code forges, right? Like GitLab, GitHub, every couple of days we see that like GitHub is down or there's an outage. They've even said it themselves. Like it's really hard to support this agent traffic. And then in addition to that, like human cognition struggles with that traffic as well because now people are putting up PRs really, really fast. Whereas in the past, you will like take a feature and you'll be like, I just added a button and you open the PR and it's easy to review. Now you have like 1,200 PRs with like thousands and thousands of lines to review. So they're like, we need something that really supports the agentic era with how people are coding now. So they decided to create Entire because I think people often ask, like, why didn't they just do it at GitHub? Like, GitHub's owned by Microsoft. It has a ton of legacy systems. For them to have, like, done that complete shift over would be, like, inconvenient, slow. So they're like, we're just going to create a startup that is able to, like, approach this vision. And what they started out with for now, it seems really simple, but it's actually powerful in my opinion, is where like you have an agent session and every time you make a commit, it grabs like the prompts that you did, like the transcript, the tool calls, all that happened within your session. And you can be able to use that as like agent memory or like for just different things. Maybe you want to learn from a teammate about how they're prompting and stuff like that. Yeah.
That's cool. That's like the software version of what we're trying to do with the show. A little bit, right?
Totally. So I did a little research on you last night, Rizèl. I jumped into an agent session and I was like, I've seen this person around, but I don't know much about them, and I want to, we're going to be talking tomorrow. So gave me the scoop. And what I was noticing was all these really good pull quotes coming out of a bunch of the content and the posts that you've written. And the one that I thought was the best was, the session is the story. And that's that's from a post called Human Attention is a Scarce Resource. And there's like a whole bunch of these quotes. Like the other one was, we often throw away the one record that explains everything, the agent session itself. Or when you work with coding agents, a lot of important information lives outside the final diff. And this speaks to me so much because I'm doing all my work and everything I do on a computer now is happening inside some kind of agent session. And something that I'm kind of obsessed with is like, I get to the end of a session and there's something that's been produced, right? Some kind of artifact. Maybe it's a piece of software, maybe it's a website, maybe it's an image, maybe it's a video, something. But what I often, this feeling that I have in the back of my mind is like, well, there's all this like latent, powerful information that's sitting in the history of the session. That's not in the Git version control.
Yeah.
And unless I do something intentional to share that with the world, I'm kind of like depriving myself and other people of like the really valuable information about this process. So I think what you're describing is like very obviously the next thing that we need to like fit into our software development processes.
I think so too. Thank you. When you read the quotes out loud, I'm like, wow, I can't believe I'm smart.
What
Yeah, it's great. I think you're just calling out like where we are in this moment. And like I think a lot of the writing that you're talking about here is sort of about a common thread is like the relationship between humans and the technology. And like a lot of what we see here, at least in my little like algorithmic bubble of content, it's like everyone's just like hyped about the newest tools and the newest models. And I think you said somewhere recently about like, yeah, okay, that's cool that people are going to use Fable, but like I'm not in a big hurry. Like I'll use it eventually. I'll see what people are doing with it. But I personally want to see more from people about the sort of human side of this process and like how humans are still, you know, sort of at the core of this rather than just like the technology can solve everything for us.
Yeah, keeping the human in the loop.
Yeah, exactly.
How do I inject this into what does the entire work across any tool? Like how do to Zeke's point where he's like at the end he had to like think very strongly about remembering to do something.
Yeah.
Like do I set this up do I pipe it through something? Like how does it work? What's
Yeah, good question. They really made it to be something that happens in the background. So the flow is you have a repo where you create a repo and then you run entire enable and you tell it like that's the command and then you like give it a flag of like agent and you tell it which particular agent you want it to be enabled for. I just enable it for all my agents. I just do like entire enable Y. So anytime when I'm in that repo and I'm using an agent, it's like recording in the background, and what it's doing is it's using like agent hooks. So it has to be an agent that like has hooks, and if you're not familiar with hooks are like part of like or they indicate like the life cycle of whatever's happening in the agent. So it'll say like the session started and then like entire's listening to that in the background like, oh, okay, the session started, I'll start recording, or the session stopped, I'll stop recording. And once you make a commit is when the session gets pushed up to your remote GitHub repository for you, but it gets pushed up on a separate branch, so it's not mixed up with your source code. Or you can say that you want it to be in a completely different repository because you don't want any of that blow, or some people say they want their prompts to be private or whatever. But the whole process is literally entire enable. It starts listening, you make some changes, you do git commit, pushes it up to GitHub for you, and you don't really think about it again after that.
I actually took it for a spin last night, and I have a few questions about it. So the first one was, okay, so I signed up. Sign up is super easy. You authenticate with your GitHub account, and then you actually go into the GitHub app flow where it's like, all right, let's hook this thing up to some repositories. And so you can either be like, yeah, you can have all my repos, or I'm going to specifically select certain repos. So I started small, pointed it at my personal homepage, and then I was authenticated, and then I installed the CLI. And then I had a little bit of a hiccup because I have Cloud Code and OpenCode installed. And so when I ran entire enable, which is like the initialization thing, it was like, you have Cloud Code. Cool, you're set up now. And I was like, wait a minute, no, I'm using OpenCode. So I was able to jump into OpenCode and say, I'm getting set up with entire. I think it is assuming that I just want to use Claude, but I actually want to use OpenCode. It went and found the docs, straightened me out, got me set up for OpenCode. And everything was going smoothly. And then all of a sudden I had to pump my brakes because I was like, wait a minute. I'm on my company laptop. I'm about to sign up for this service where I just take everything that happened in the session and send it off to some third party. I don't know what's happening to the data, what part of the data is being exposed, what the interaction is there, whether this is making me vulnerable. And without having done any real research on what Entire is, decided, okay, wait, I need to stop here. I'm going to talk to Rizèl tomorrow. Kind of get the scoop on like, how safe is this? What's happening to my data? Should I only be using this for personal projects, or can I use it inside like a big, enterprise like Cloudflare, for example?
That's a good question. We do have a page on like security and privacy. So we're not capturing the data for ourselves. It is like, if you guys want me to share my screen, I can show you like where it goes for you. And you also have the ability to redact like certain things. So we're using something called Better Leaks behind the scenes, and that'll by default like redact like connection strings, like API tokens, PII, and stuff like that. But you can also do user-defined redaction. I don't know, like maybe you swore at your agent or something like that, and you don't want them to know.
Never. No, I'm polite.
Better leaks is a funny. It's fun. Like you actually want worse leaks, but I guess you don't want to have a project.
Yeah, better at leaking.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's true. That's a crazy name. But where like your transcripts go on GitHub, let me see if I can find one. Like a repo so you guys can see this one. I'm just literally vibe coding a game. I don't look at anything, but on this separate branch called entire checkpoints v1 is where all my transcripts are going. So everybody can see this because this is a public repository, to be honest. So I guess people can look through here. It might be a little hard to read because it's just metadata, but anyone who has access to my repo can like or is a not access, but anyone who's like a contributor or owner or admin, they can be able to like either go into the UI, see the prompts that I've given it, see the responses that I've given it, or they can be able to run a command like entire, let me remove this stuff, entire checkpoints list. And checkpoints are like, can you see my terminal?
Yeah, entire checkpoints list.
Yeah. So you could either check in the UI and have access there, or if you went to, like if you liked using the CLI instead, you can do like entire checkpoints list, and then you'd be able to see like the different times that I've made a checkpoint or like said, all right, yeah, let's make a commit, and it grabbed all my stuff for me, and then I can do entire checkpoint explain, and it should tell me like, here's like what Rizèl's intent was. She wanted to like add an automatic refresh, and then you can keep scrolling forever and you'll see my transcript. But the only place it's going is to the GitHub repository. It's not like going to us. I don't know if that explains it for you or helps.
Totally, yeah.
And if you have it, you could say like, I want all of these to just go into a private repository instead, and no one else would be able to see it.
Yeah. Okay, important side question. How did you just type entire checkpoint explain so fast in one try in a live demo?
I don't know, the demo gods are finally with me.
Wow, that was amazing. Your fingers were just on fire, and it just came right out right the first try. I've never done that in my life.
Me neither. This is the first time.
Okay, so we've got all this explain stuff. We've got entire wired up. It's now pumping all of this data into a GitHub repository location of our choosing. We have control over the data. What happens next? Like, how does it actually integrate back into our process and start becoming useful for us?
How does it start becoming useful? Good question. So, I mean, a lot of people, when I've described this to them, they're like, that's cool, but like, I don't really want to read each prompt. And I'm like, yeah, of course. I don't do that either. But like, sometimes I'll like maybe go into, let me find, I'll just use the game. I'll keep using the game as an example. I'll like,
we're gonna have to see the game.
What happened?
We're gonna have to see the game.
No, it's not. It's not great. It's completely fine code, but it has a lot of checkpoint history. Okay. So, but like let me, instead of like making us wait for a response, like just find something. Like here's where I would maybe if I'm new to a code base, or if, like, for example, I vibe coded this whole thing, so I'm like, I don't even know what's going on. So I'm like, what's the idea behind level 2? Why did this happen? And so then my agent has like agent skills installed, or even if it didn't, it's still able to do this. And it goes ahead and runs like entire commands for me. And it's like, all right, let me go dig into figuring out like how this works, how this evolved over time. I even asked it here. Yeah, I'm like, how did level 2 evolve over time? And it told me like, hey, on June 10th, you started off with this version of the level 2, and then on June 16th it took a little bit of a pivot, and now you have like a more like a overcooked diner dash influence. So the way I use this, I think people use it in various different ways, but I use it more to help me understand like what is going on in this code base, rather than reading each prompt, and how did work come together. Other ways that people in my company use this is sometimes to hand over work to each other. Like if one person started on like a feature and it needs to come out right away, but they went on vacation, someone else can easily pick it up and use like a skill called session handoff and entire resume, and that allows them to pick back up from wherever they last started.
That's cool. You can like actually share an existing session like without using the agent framework. Like I could pull this into my open code from you
Yes. Yeah.
because I don't, like I said, like we
That's
can't use
so cool.
Codex, right?
Yeah,
Like we can
exactly.
cross.
Yeah, I can easily put this into like Claude Code or Open Code or whatever other agent that I prefer using.
That's very
That's
cool.
that
Session
is
portability. So like a team, everybody on the team could be using whatever
Yeah.
harness or tool or model that they want.
Yeah,
Very
exactly.
interesting. So there's the entire CLI, which takes care of installing things like plugins or hooks or whatever to be able to capture the session data. When do the skills come into play? How does someone install the skills? And is that basically the recipe? Is you've got the CLI with the hooks, and then you have some user installed skills that kind of integrate into the agent environment?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's the recipe. You don't have to have these skills, so they're here on this repo, github.com/entire.io skills. And you can just do like npx skills add whatever, like the regular process. But
Yep.
this, I really like this because it can run multiple commands for me and like do a specific workflow. So let me see if I can give like a better like explanation. So if I wanted to know like, okay, here, this one, like what happened, right? What happened is like it tells you like who made the change, why the change happened, etc., etc. For me to figure that out, I might have to type get blame, I might have to type entire checkpoint explain, and a whole bunch of other commands. But under the hood, if I just say what happened on this line, and maybe I'll just play this little screen recording, I guess. Yeah, if I just say what happened in this particular file, it'll run it for me and it'll tell me like, here's what happened. I don't know, like Rizèl made this particular change because there was a bug for this and that. So yeah, this is kind of for me the secret sauce. That way I don't have to write a whole bunch of commands or anything like that. And to be honest, I don't really, when I'm in my agent, I don't really leave my agent to write more commands or like to write anything in my terminal. I just want my agent to do all of it. So this kind of informs my agent on what commands to run rather than me walking it through one by one, being like, can you do entire checkpoint explain? Okay, now can you do get blame and figure out who made the change, etc., etc.
wow, super cool.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
wait, what? Just thinking about the entire onboarding experience. You mentioned like skills are your secret sauce, but you don't have to do it that way. Which it's cool to get to let people choose their own adventure. But if this is like really the most powerful way to be using this tool without having to like remember all the magic commands and everything, why wouldn't you just make the skill part of your onboarding process?
Good
Out of
question.
curiosity. Yeah.
Good question. And maybe that's something my team is thinking about. But right now I think they've just like kept it simple. They're like, and use the command, the CLI commands, and just read what's going on. I think because everybody's using it differently. Like
Right.
sometimes when I hear how other people are using it, I'm like, oh, I didn't realize anyone was using it that way. And then they have different agents that they're using it with, like Pi and all that have different functionality. So I think this is just like this is my secret sauce because that's how I use my agent. But I don't think that everybody is necessarily using their agent to figure out what happened or like as like a type of memory type tool. Or I mean, sorry, I don't think everyone's using entire as like a type of memory tool.
Totally. Yeah,
Super.
I mean, I appreciate the sentiment of letting everybody choose their own tools and figure out their own adventure. But I also think a lot about we have this issue going on inside of Cloudflare where everybody's all hyped about skills, and we have this very clear notion of what a public skill is that you can, NPX skills, add, blah, blah, blah. But if we have like stuff that we want to share internally in the company, we're always kind of trying to reinvent the wheel on like, how do we share this like important context or this useful process in a way that is discoverable to everyone inside the company? So I ask that question because I have skills on the brain right now as like a way to like hand something over to someone else that allows them to easily repeat the process without having to like learn something from scratch.
That's a good point. And maybe something I haven't thought about enough. I know at Block we had like our own internal skills repository and our own internal MCP servers because we're like, yeah, we can't install all of these stuff. And like anyone was using it, like HR people, executives, whatever. So maybe that could help. But yeah, I don't know.
We're getting close to the end here, Rizal. We'll talk a little bit about some misconceptions that you think that like developers have out there about like in this age of agents. What do you think people have misconceptions about still? And when I say people, I mean everybody. Like let's remember some of the developers who haven't like
Even touched.
even leaned in, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Let me think. What are misconceptions that people have? That's a good question. I mean, the one that came to mind is like the stuff that like Zeke was saying from my blog post. Like that's usually top of mind for me where whenever I ask people like, do you save your session history? Have any way of doing that? Any reason to? And they're like, nah, what am I using that for? So I think that's like one particular like misconception where it's like they don't realize the value they can get out of having their past sessions. And then I think another misconception is like, I think people are just using their agents kind of in a vanilla way. I mean, I kind of do too, right? Like I just prompt it. I don't set up way too much. But like even my husband, he's a software engineer and like I don't know if he doesn't hear anything I'm saying, but he's like, "Do you know people are running agents all night?" I don't think that's true. And I'm like, I do it right next to you.
It's in the house.
Didn't you see my laptop cracked open a little bit all night?
So I think another misconception, well, I don't know if this is really considered a misconception, but like a misuse of agents is they're just not taking getting the full experience to be able to be as productive as they could be. And it's hard to figure that out because it's a learning curve. I think I have the privilege of like I don't actually have a software engineering job, so all day I can just experiment and be like, what else can I do with my agent? But yeah.
Hey, that's our job too. I want to call out something that was in one of your posts, which is largely about people's misconceptions. The title was Your AI Agent Isn't an Engineer.
I forgot I wrote that.
Yeah, and it says AI is a non-sentient tool that processes historical data patterns, is prone to hallucinating, misses important context, and provides non-deterministic output. I think like most software engineers, of course, know this, but something that I find in interacting with like the general public is that like a lot of people have real skepticism about AI, in part because they don't really know what it is and they don't know how it should work. So they'll say something like, oh, I asked GPT this or I asked Google this and it made something up. And you're like, well, yeah, that's because that's how that works. Like you can't just like ask it a question and expect it to be the truth. But so I think there's something really important about educating people just on what these systems actually are and how they're useful. And so these kind of posts make it really, they're, essential for kind of like telling the true story of what these tools actually are. So thanks for writing them. They're awesome.
Hey, thank you. Yeah, and I remember like back in GitHub Copilot days, like 2021, people really didn't understand like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not sentient. It was like my whole job to be like, you have to prompt it specifically and give it context.
Yeah.
Where can people find these posts? Where should people follow you?
Oh, cool. Yeah, I write a lot of posts on dev.to/blackgirlbytes. And I don't know, you can find me on LinkedIn at Rizèl Scarlett and any social media platform at blackgirlbytes.
Awesome. We'll get that up on the screen. It'll go whoosh, 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 right there.
Yeah. Blackgirlbytes.dev.
Yeah.
Yeah.
BYTES.
Yes,
Nice.
BYTES. Not actual biting.
Yeah, an actual bite. Awesome. Okay. Any last things we want to do here before we wrap up? We got you up here past the time. Anything you want to talk about before we close out?
I feel like we covered everything. I saw you wanted to talk about Guyana, but
I was hoping to talk a bit about Guyana. What part of Guyana are you from?
oh wait, so my parents were born in Georgetown and my mom was born as Essequibo. I was
Okay.
actually born in Antigua, so I wasn't born in
Okay.
but yeah, I lived there for a little bit. You probably remember way more than me because I left when I was 4. Like I have random memories of like
Yeah.
mosquito nets and stuff like that.
Yeah. I lived in Berbice. I went up to Essequibo. I went up the incredible. That on that. Do you remember the black water there?
No, I don't.
There's this thing that happens with there's trees along this river and it drops like almost like tea and it makes the water black. It's like pure black. So you're on a boat. I'll get a photo. I'll put a photo in. And you're on a boat and it will be a complete mirror. It will break your brain. And you could take a photo of it and like crappy, like I did Peace Corps there. It's like a long time ago I did Peace Corps. And you could get a photo and there's no editing, but it looks like the boat's like,
mirrored. That's so cool.
So cool. And they say that if you drink the black water, you must come back. So I have been back. We ended up going back. I met my wife there, and we brought the kids. They're like,
That's amazing.
It is so hot. That was the feedback. Cool.
Awesome. Well, I know what I'm doing with my afternoon. I'm going to resume my entire setup and give it another spin.
Yeah, I'm super excited. to explore that. And Zeke, I feel like we talk about that all the time about we lost this, or how do we pair? Like, I don't even know how you do it without it. Now that I've seen this, I'm like, well, that's how you do it, obviously. But now,
Yeah.
well, thank you, Rizèl, for dropping and sharing and being so brave and dropping in and just sharing your codex like that too. That's like that's cool, super cool. And I want to see this game when it comes out. Now that I know it's about Diner Dash too, because that's what.
Same.
Oh no! Thank you so much for having me.
All right, thanks everybody for hanging out.
Fun.
We're always looking for the humans behind the Clanker. If you're building in the Agentic ecosystem or have a unique framework to show off, we'd love to chat. So we will see you next time. Thanks again, Rizèl, and keep on clanking. I don't know. We don't have a closer.
Keep on clanking.
Keep on clanking. There we go.